Hey, everybody, welcome to Brand Out, a podcast all about branding. My name is Tony Nash, aka the Brand Father, and I'm the host of this podcast, along with my team of branding experts that I get to work with every day here at AZEE Branding Solutions. Our mission is to help you grow your brand from A to Z. So in this podcast, we're going to be breaking down brands. What makes them work? What makes them not work? What makes a business stand out? We're going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about your favorite brands, our favorite brands, and even maybe some brands that we don't like, and talk about what we think they can do, what they can do better. But before we dive into all that, we wanted to take a moment to introduce you to us, our business, our team, and why we decided to start this great new podcast. Make sure you follow us on all the socials. You can find us anywhere a podcast can be found. And make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube and TikTok, where you're going to get regular content from Brand Out. And let us know in the comments what brands you want us to talk about, or maybe you have a brand. Maybe you have a personal brand. Maybe you own a small business and you want us to talk about your brand. Let us know in the comments, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. But be compelling. Let us know in the comments. What you'd like to see here on Brand Out. Now, we thought each episode we're going to be talking about different brands or different things going on in the world of branding. But we thought for the first episode, why not talk about our brand and let you know who we are, our brand, AZEE Branding Solutions. I got it right here. And our company was started about 10 years ago with the mission, it was just me kind of working out of my house, with the mission to help people grow their brand from A to Z. I am a self-proclaimed brand nerd. I love talking about brands. I love seeing what works. And one of the things I love most about my job here is meeting new clients, new businesses, new industries, and figuring out what's going to help them take the next step in their business journey. We've worked with hundreds of clients over the last 10 years, and we've got to see some people have some really successful branding and marketing campaigns. So we started as just a one-man operation where I was basically managing people's social media accounts, building websites, designing logos. And if you look at the first iteration of my website, I had about 100 services on there. It was like throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall to see what stuck. But a few things have stuck over the years, and now our company, 10 years later, we have 15 employees. We have a beautiful space right in the heart of downtown Owasso, and we now offer full-service web design, graphic design, social media management. We do photography, full production video, and we also have a full-service print shop where we do screen printing, embroidery, signs, banners, whatever you need. So we really are a one-stop branding solution with a team of branding experts whose goal is to connect your brand to your buyer. So we've tried a lot of things over the years to see what works, and we think AZEE is living proof that branding really works. Our whole business has been built on telling our story and building a brand that resonates with people. Again, our mission, if you're watching, our mission is to help you grow your brand from A to Z. And so why does branding matter? We say this phrase a lot around here. If people don't know you, you have a marketing problem. But if people don't choose you, you have a branding problem. Maybe that's you today. Maybe you have a great product, a great service. Maybe you have done a lot of things that you think are the right things to do for a business. And people know that you exist. They see your location. You got a great location right on a main drag there. People will drive by you. You have a good placement on Google. You have a good website, but people aren't choosing you. And I would say that's because there's something wrong with your brand. You see, branding is not just a logo. It's not just the aesthetics of what your brand looks like, but a brand is what tells your story. I say it this way: a brand is a combination of who you think you are and who your customers know you are. And the two of those should really match if you're going to have a good brand. A brand is what tells your story. A brand is what builds trust, builds loyalty. A brand is that feeling that people get when they drive past your location, when they see a social media post, when they think about your business. So it is vitally important to have a brand that stands out. That's what Brand Out is all about here. So this is not our first podcast. We actually originally launched in 2018. We launched a podcast that some of you might be familiar with called No Easy Way Out. And that was a podcast designed to connect with local entrepreneurs and business owners that were able to tell their journey. That show was more about motivation. That show was more about inspiring business owners. And we did 135 episodes. And I encourage you, if you like that stuff, to go back and watch them. They're on our YouTube channel as well. But this podcast is more focused on branding. We did learn over the years that people like the real conversations. They like hearing people's stories. So what we're going to do with these brands that we talk about is we're going to talk about the origin of these brands, how they got started, when they got started, why they chose the name they chose, what does their logo mean, all the things that went into building their successful brand and what made it the powerhouse that it is today, or the growing brand that it is today. And so another thing we learned, and a reason that we're starting this podcast, is that long form content is a powerful way to build a brand, to tell your story. We have so much expertise here, and we love talking about it. And we thought we want to share our expertise and the things that we love with you, our listeners. Branding is what we do. So we want to educate. We want to entertain. We want to inspire you and other business owners through deep dives into what makes a brand work, what makes a brand tick. When I say branding, you think of somebody already. You're thinking of a business right now, or you're thinking of a brand right now. And so we're going to do those deep dives into seeing what makes them work and try to give you actionable insights of what you need to do to stand out. So a couple things I'd like you to take away as you're listening to our podcast, a couple of goals that we want people to get as they watch us. Number one, your brand is more than just a logo. We talked about that earlier. It's that feeling people get when they see your name. A strong brand equals a higher perceived value. When somebody believes that your brand is good and strong, they're willing to pay more. Number two, your brand is what builds trust and loyalty. It's what tells your story. Number three, content is king. This is why we're podcasting. Sometimes people wonder, how do I know what kind of content to make? How often should I do it? This is one of the reasons why we're doing it. A podcast isn't just a podcast these days. It's really a marketing machine. This long form content we're creating is going to give us a lot of opportunities to create multiple pieces of short form content for TikTok and Reels and YouTube Shorts that you, the audience, can engage with, that can see what we're all about here. And then we want to engage in conversations about branding and build that trust and authority into what our expertise is all about. And then I want you to understand is your business needs to brand out. You need to brand out. You need to stand out. Most businesses really just kind of blend into the landscape. They have the same food on the menu as their competitor, just maybe with a little bit variation. They have the same type of sign. They have the same listing on this and that. They do the same things on social media. There's very few original ideas these days. So the brands that stand out are the brands that win. Let me say that again. The brands that stand out from the crowd, stand out from the competitors. Those are the ones that win. And that's what brand out is all about. So in this podcast, we're going to analyze the best brands. We're going to talk about the trends. We're going to talk about strategies that you can implement and do the same thing with your business. So enough about us. If you want to learn more about AZEE Branding Solutions, you can go to our website at azeebranding.com. Again, follow us on all the socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're everywhere. Go find us and you can learn more about us. And if you need help growing your brand, we and our team are happy to help you. But to produce a podcast like this that has great audio, great lighting, a great set, great videos, great merch, all the things that go into making for a great podcast, it takes a team. And so not only did I want to introduce you today to our business and to our brand, but I wanted to introduce you to our team. And so I'm going to take some time now to bring each one of our team members on the show. I'm going to give you just a few minutes to get to know. You're going to see a lot of them over the coming episodes, but I wanted to take today to get you an opportunity to get to know them. Okay, so let's bring the producer of this bed. Well, let's bring on Dan Dameron. Dan, come on up, baby. Come on up. I think let's get you mic'd up here. Just good. Dan, how you doing, man?
Doing well, man.
Doing good. You
another day, another dollar.
Well, listen, this is Dan Dameron. He is our project manager, but he's the producer of Brand Out Podcast. So Dan, tell audience a little bit about yourself and your role here at AZEE and with the podcast.
Yeah, so here at AZEE, I'm usually people's first contact once they sign some sort of agreement with us, whether that's a monthly retainer or that is a one-off project for design or photo or video or whatever it might be. So I kind of handle our kickoff meetings and we gather all the information to ensure that the project's going to be a success, and then schedule it out with our team, get the dates on the calendar, and just kind of oversee the process from beginning to end. And then as far as it pertains to the podcast, just kind of doing the same thing as the producer, just making sure that everyone's where they need to be, when they need to be, that everything from pre-planning through the official launch of an episode, that it happens in a timely, orderly fashion.
Yeah. So Dan keeps us on track here because when you got a bunch of creatives in the same space, we're kind of all over the place. We have a new
Everyone
idea.
here has ADHD.
Yeah, we have a new idea every 5 minutes. So Dan keeps us on track, and so we knew we needed Dan to keep us on track for the podcast, so that I have episodes from the last season or the last podcast, like 2 hours long, and Dan's like, "Hey, we're not going to do that this time." So he's keeping us on track. But Dan, what are you most excited about this podcast?
Man, I think the thing that really excites me about this versus maybe some other ones that we've done in the past is that we're able to speak into something that we are the subject matter experts on. In the past, we did a podcast that was focused more towards entrepreneurs, which was fun, interviewing people, hearing their stories. But on this one, we're able to take all the knowledge that we have and give it to people so that they can start doing branding and growing in their ability in branding and marketing right where they're at. So it's really just a tool to empower the people.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I'm super excited about it. I kind of lost my excitement on the last episode, but worry not. We still are going to have some local brands that come in. We'll call them local brand spotlights, where they're going to be able to share their stories. But we're going to really focus on branding in a broad sense. How do you think you would like to see the podcast kind of take shape over time? Obviously, we're starting out today, but how would you like to see it? Where would you like to see it go?
Yeah, I would just love the opportunity to collaborate with some brands that we're all fans of for this podcast to, really begin to accelerate and get some momentum to the point where we can not just be dissecting other people's brands or local brands that we're excited about, but to be able to maybe work with some national brands or international
That'd be
brands
amazing.
And to do a deep dive with we're
going to get there,
their founders and their CEOs.
Absolutely. So what do you think? Like I said, we produce over 10 podcasts. We've seen a lot of, you and I both watch podcasts. What do you think makes this podcast a little different and why people should tune in?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to the subject matter expertise, and then also just the ability for people to start doing it on their own. All the while, we're actually accessible. So a lot of the podcasts that you and I would listen to and that we love and that we've learned a lot from, it's great, but it's one-sided in terms of we're benefiting from the information, but we're not able to reach out to them with questions or anything like that. And so anybody who is trying to do branding on their own or just a fellow brand nerd like us, when they have questions, we're accessible and they can reach right out to us and we can have a conversation.
We want to work with our fans.
Yes.
We want to work with our people.
Yes.
And so, you hear something you like, you're like, I just like those people. I want to work with them. If you're in Michigan and you want to stop by the office and visit and you want to see a podcast being filmed, we're like, come on about. Let's see it. We would love to have that.
Live audience.
And the other thing that's cool is it's not just me. Like, you're going to get to meet the whole team regularly because you're going to get bored of me for a while. So last question, Dan, and then I'll let you get back to your day here. We talked about the national brands. If you could collaborate here on Brand Out with any brand or influencer right now, who would it be and why?
Man, I think I'd have to go with Vans, right? I already got the hat. We got the shoes here.
Dan's a Vans man.
Yeah, just a brand that I
sign him, Vans. Endorse him.
There we go.
His name rhymes with your company.
It's just a brand that I grew up with. I remember it being the first brand that I was really excited about because it had to do with skate culture when I was a kid. And as I've grown, I feel like they've grown with me. And so it's like, dude, I'm still wearing the same shoes that I was wearing when I was in middle school. So
well, I have a son that likes Vans. He's 17. So a lot of people, at least me, think of Vans as like a younger demographic, but maybe we need to brand the Vans man. Dan, the Vans man. Think about it, Vans. That could be cool. A whole campaign about the Vans man, not just the boy. So, well, Dan, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. I think you like that idea. You want to be the Vans man? I
would love that idea.
Free Vans merch for life, baby.
Let's go.
All right, Dan, thanks for coming on. We're going to bring on our next person who is our video guy. You can get him ready here. Our video guy. Who is behind the scenes, who runs the cameras, who makes sure this thing gets edited, looks right, the sound, the lighting. And that is Micah Nash, my son. Micah, come on the show, baby. Studio audience, round of applause. We forgot to give that for Dan. We'll pipe some. Maybe you should pipe some applause in for us here.
I'll add it in. You'll never know.
All right.
Make sure I'm good.
Dan, give us the green light, and we'll go. How you feeling, man?
Feeling good.
How you feel about episode 1 so far?
I'm excited. I'm excited that we got someone new going here, and I think the fans are going to love it.
All right, good. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at AZEE, and then your role in the podcast.
Yeah, so I am our director of video here. I mainly focus on stuff behind the camera. I do the majority of the video shooting and editing and lighting and audio, all the things that come with the video. I am the main, I guess, person in that area. So,
like you said, you're the person that makes sure the podcast looks right, sound right. Tell our audience who have never got to see the behind the scenes, what are some of the things that go into making a podcast that looks good, sounds good, and is right?
Yeah, it's a lot more than you would think. Besides just having the right cameras and the right equipment, it's about where you place it. The lighting needs to be exactly perfect. You got to have controlled lighting, so if there's a lot of natural light, that's going to affect you in a big way, more than people realize. Even the sounds in the room, like the air conditioning or things that happen in the background, those things need to be isolated. And even though we have really good mics, those things need to be controlled. So it's a lot of little details, from lighting to audio to even the way the background looks. So there's a lot involved.
So you personally have probably shot hundreds of podcast episodes in your short career already. But like, to the person watching, how much time in the average episode to set up all of this stuff for one episode? How much time is it really involved, even for a pro like you?
Yeah, I would say so. The first time you're setting up, your set, that's probably an hour to an hour and a half of just getting things laid out, formatting a plan, figuring out where all the lighting and all those other things are going to go. And then once you kind of have that down, it's probably about a half an hour process to recreate that every time. Depending on where the location is, but half an hour to 45 minutes is probably.
And if you have a studio that you can leave set up, that helps. But if you're setting up every time, it can go in. What's one thing you think people don't realize, maybe something that people have no idea that really goes into making a podcast look and sound professional?
That the details matter. I mean, it's even the something as simple as how far the mic is from their mouth, how close the lights are, how different the camera looks than how it looks in person. I think there's just a lot of little things that you may overlook, that those are things that I like to focus on, and those things that actually take it to the next level are those little details. Yeah.
Good. What's your favorite part about filming a podcast?
I actually like getting things set up in the background. I like having a cool background that helps separate the person from the background. It's just something that kind of gives a little life to the scene and the set, and I think you can do a lot by just adding little cool things in the background of the shot.
All right, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Dan. All right, Dan wants to work with some national brands at some point. He's going to be the Vans man. We're gonna pitch that campaign to the Vans man, Dan. If you could collaborate with any brand right now, who would that be and why?
If there's one brand that I had to collaborate with, I'd definitely say Air Jordan. I think the shoes, you can't beat them. The merch is top tier, and I think I'd be a perfect Air Jordan athlete. You want to see? We're all of our people here now looking to get sponsored here. Yeah. So Luka's getting traded other places, so you can trade me for Luka for Jordan Brandon. I'll replace him.
Used to be a good basketball player too.
Used to be. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Micah, I appreciate your time. We're excited about this. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thanks for having me.
And let's meet our next person here. Let's meet our director of photography and design, Miss Bethany Kaviz. Beth?
She ready to go?
Oh, she knocked over the mic. So, Beth, why don't you tell our audience a little about yourself and what you do here at AZEE, and then what you're going to be doing on the podcast.
Okay, well, at AZEE, I am the creative director, and I kind of make sure that everything is cohesive with your brand and looks really sharp before it leaves our doors. You will first meet with Casey or Tony, maybe Dan, and then it will go to Dan, and then I kind of come in at that time. We love to sit down with you as a client and figure out what your brand is about, what you want your brand to represent, kind of who you are as a company. And then from there, my job is to make sure that we portray that.
Kind of the caretaker of the brand to make sure it looks right, sounds right.
That's a good way to say it.
Smells right, all those things. Even for AZEE.
Yeah, so basically, I want to make sure everything looks pretty and it represents you really well. On top of that, I do a lot of the production, so web design, video, logos, a little bit of everything. And really, the vision is to make sure that you guys get what you want.
Yeah. And Beth is the only person I've ever hired who I allow to overrule me, even on AZEE design. Usually, up until a few years ago, I did all the AZEE design myself because I was always so picky about it. But Beth is someone who comes with a lot of experience and knowledge. I've given her some authority over me even on that. So tell us about the logo for Brand Out. Like, kind of, what was your thoughts behind it? What was the inspiration? And explain it to the people watching.
Okay, so we really wanted Brand Out to feel different than AZEE.
We wanted it to stand out.
We wanted it to stand out. And it actually started as we thought, how do we pull different letters from different brands? And we'll spell out Brand Out that way. And it wasn't really working. And then actually Micah suggested, you guys know what ransom note looks like? Maybe we could do something that way. And so We loved the idea. We went and we found a bunch of letters that we thought popped. And the cool thing about why we went with that is you have the uniqueness of each letter, but it comes together cohesively really nice. And it's just it kind of represents how we want this podcast to go. We want it to be bold. We want it to be fun. We want it to be creative. And we want each podcast to be different. And so it all kind of came together really, really nice. And I'm excited. I'm excited that we have a different brand to work with. It's fun to do AZEE stuff, but you're doing the same colors all the time. So this kind of mixes it up.
And we do have a little shout out to AZEE in the middle. The A is actually the A from our logo. So you kind of incorporate it there. I think it's a sweet logo. The ransom note style is really, really cool. So let us know in the comments what you think about the logo and the branding for Brand Out. If you had unlimited resources to create the ultimate set design, like what are we missing? What would you put here if I just said, hey, here's the black card, go get it?
One thing I would really like to do is be a little bit more versatile. It would be great to utilize maybe another wall. So if we have more guests, we have more variety.
Yeah.
And so right now we're using the brick wall. We love the brick wall. Everybody always comments on how nice that looks. You can see our equipment behind me right now. But it would be great to be able to mix it up every time we have a new guest. And so if we had unlimited, I would take this other wall you guys can't see. I would deck it out, and that way we can maybe switch some stuff out.
And someday we will.
That matches what we're talking about.
And someday we'll. And we got a neon sign coming.
Yes, we
so
do.
So that's going to look cool.
Yes,
that's going to look cool. All right. Same question I asked everybody else. If you could collaborate with any brand or influencer right now, who would it be and why?
This might surprise you because it's not why you think. I would choose Jaguar. And the only reason I would choose them is because I hate the rebrand.
Oh.
And so I would love to collaborate with them because I would like to change everything.
Redo it.
Yeah, I think they really missed the mark on that. That could be a whole different podcast.
I think we did a podcast about that. Maybe we wrote an article about that.
I think it was an article.
Yeah.
But
we wrote an article about that.
They really missed the mark on that one, and it could have been just really great. So I would love to collaborate with them to prove them wrong.
All right. Well, thank you, Beth, for joining us. Let's get our marketing director on here. All right, we got our marketing and content strategist for the podcast, Mr. Casey Lambert. Casey, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what your role here on the podcast is?
All right. Well, as you alluded to, I'm our director of marketing here at AZEE. Also on the sales side a little bit when necessary. But when it comes to the podcast, I am responsible for all of our content output as well as our marketing strategy surrounding it. So that's not only for this podcast, but our upcoming live recordings of the podcast, anything that comes out of it content-wise, and really growing it to a larger audience than we ever had before with our podcast properties.
Yeah. So this is episode 1. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of starting fresh here. How do you build a podcast from the ground up from a marketing standpoint?
It's pretty simple.
How do you build an audience, I should say?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. So it kind of follows the same strategy you would with growing your business from a marketing standpoint. You have to select where you're going to target to. You have to build content that is appealing to that market. And then you have to go from there into other different sub markets. So it's really about who you're targeting. So for Brand Out, it's not initially conceptualized as this huge entertaining podcast a la Theo Vaughn or Joe Rogan. If it takes us in that direction, fantastic. But the purpose of this podcast is from a content and expertise perspective, right? So you said it in your own words, Tony. We have a fantastic team of creative experts here. We want to be able to use that expertise, not only to leverage growth for ourselves, but growth for anybody else out there who is a viewer. So there's an educational element to it. There's a growth element to it. And that's kind of what Brand Out stands for.
Yeah. And even an entertainment value.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's going to be entertaining.
We're going to have some fun,
Look at these characters we have inside these 8 or I think 16
several walls.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the secret to making, I mean, we've done a lot of podcasts over the years, a lot, including our own. And we still are producing quite a few. What do you think is the secret to making a podcast stand out in a very crowded space? I mean, everyone's a podcaster today. So what makes one stand out?
It's not even necessarily what makes a podcast stand out from other podcasts, right? You said it. The market is convoluted. Everybody and their brother can have a podcast. They just put a phone in front of their face. So it really comes down to who are you truly trying to reach with the content that you're creating. Luckily at AZEE, this is something that we've done for 10 years, connecting a message to a specific audience. When we looked out there, and Tony, you were coming up with the concept for the podcast, It was, where is an underserved market? Where is an underserved market, and where are we experts at? How can we marry those things? And I mean, we inside these 4, 8, 16 walls talk about brands every single day, right? Whether it be a good thing or a bad thing. So we know the temperature of the world out there from a marketing capacity. Why are we not sharing that with the world?
Yep.
So it's like I said in the beginning of your question, it's not necessarily about standing out in a convoluted podcast market, because we're not just another podcast.
Yeah.
We're a specific podcast relating to brands and teaching people how to create and grow a brand that will continue to thrive.
Well, and you said 10 years, which is the length of our business, but represented amongst our team is over 50 years of experience in the world of branding and marketing. And so the expertise is real, and I'm excited to share it with the people listening. So we've asked everybody the same question. If you could collaborate with any brand or influencer right now, I think I might know what this is, but who would it be and why?
You know what? I think Harley Davidson would be a great one to collaborate with.
I thought for sure you're going WWE for sure, but no, Harley Davidson also fits.
No, and the reason why is it's an iconic American brand, right? We're talking about created in 1930. It represented the open road and the expansion to the West throughout, over 100 years. I said 1930. That's a lie. Harley's been around longer than that. But it's kind of overgoing a brand renaissance. With the inception of electric vehicles, they tried to motion into that space and fell absolutely flat on their face because they went away from who their audience is. And it's red-blooded, bearded, rugged Americans.
Well, don't get too hard. I think we should do a podcast, a brand out episode on Harley Davidson.
We could do a lot.
You just gave a teaser of exactly what we're going to be doing on this podcast. So, well, Casey, thanks for joining us, man. You guys are going to see a lot more of Casey and all these guys.
Whether you want to or not.
Yeah, but let's bring on our merch coordinator, Nick Sebasti. All right, how you doing? Go ahead and pull that mic right up to you. The guys will tell you if we're good. How you feeling today?
Good.
Feeling good? So like I said, Nick is our print shop manager, but he has a role here on the podcast. So Nick, tell our audience a little bit about yourself and then what you're going to be doing on the podcast.
So basically what I'm going to be doing here is just making sure everyone looks good on the podcast.
Making sure we're merched out.
Yeah.
We all got our embroidered stuff today. We're branded out.
Yep.
And then tell them what you do with the print shop.
So I manage the print shop and just, oversee everything, make sure that everything is going smoothly and everyone's getting stuff when they need it. So.
And Nick, he owns a brand of his own called Dead Bread, so he loves to talk to you about what you unique and creative things you can do to make your brand stand out using apparel. So what do you think, Nick? What do you think, Nick, makes for great branded apparel? What makes branded apparel just separate from a logo to something that's really great?
Quality is big to me. The logo obviously is huge. I think any brand needs some type of logo to distinctify themselves. Is that a word?
I like it. I know exactly what it means. Even
we're
if
gonna
it's
make
not a
it
word.
a word.
Distinctify.
So yeah.
So what part of that takes, what part of making, apparel that stands out goes into the creativity and the design behind it?
A lot. I spend most of my nights actually doing design, like in the middle of the night instead of sleeping, and everything down to colors, placements. It's everything goes into it.
Yeah.
So
why do you think merch is a powerful way to build community around your brand?
Everyone has to wear shirts.
That's true. It's a
law.
It's kind of a law, right? You can't. I mean, guys can go out shirtless, but everyone has to wear.
Everyone wears clothing, and it's just people are into cool stuff.
It's a great way to connect with brands that you like.
Yeah,
it's a great way to connect. Okay, well, Nick, I asked everybody this question: if you could collaborate with any brand or influencer in the world on Brand Out, like we got someone to come in, who would we want? And they even like, hey, I want you to make me a custom shirt for the episode, or a brand or influencer right now. Who would that be and why?
Shepard Fairey. He's amazing. He's been big in the graffiti world from like the late 80s, early 90s, and he turned it from just doing graffiti to a whole brand. And everything he stands for is awesome.
So Shepard Fairey, if you're watching, come on, brand out. We'd love to have you come talk about your style of graffiti and your brand and your collabs and tell your story to the world.
Yeah,
So
that'd be a cool one.
okay, so I'm glad you got a chance to meet those guys again. You're going to be seeing everybody. All these guys are going to be on different episodes with me. AZEE, here we're all about branding. We're all about growing your brand. We're all about making your brand stand out. And so this podcast is really just an extension of that mission. I really like what Dan said is what makes us unique is this is a two-way conversation. You have a direct access to me, to our team. If you want to reach out to us, if you want to connect about your brand, you want to run some ideas by us, or you need help with something, you can reach out to us. Our socials are connected below in the description. You'll see links to our socials, to our website, and make sure you connect with us. If you want to take your brand to the next level, if you want to bring your brand up a notch, if you feel like people aren't choosing you, get a hold of us here. Let's talk. That's what we do. So drop a comment below. Let us know what you're excited about this podcast. Let us know what your favorite brands are and why we should try to connect with them. Or maybe it's you. Maybe you have a really cool brand, or you're starting a brand, you have a great idea, and you want to get on a podcast, or you want to talk about it. Let us know. We'd love to talk to you about that. And if you want expert branding strategies for your business, from people who know what they're doing, for people who are excited about it, for people who will geek out about it, then reach out to us here at AZEE Branding Solutions.
If you enjoyed this content, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. We want to connect with you. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, and let us know what brands you want us to break down next. Follow us on social media for more branding insights, and remember, keep building, keep branding, and always brand out.